After being pecked by a radioactive bird, mild-mannered Tuthill was compelled to become Kineas, the Skydude. This is the continuing adventures of Kineas, the Skydude, episode number 208. And we're making our way back to Colorado. I'm going to do a ferry flight here for Madam Graves. And try to get us a little bit closer to home. We're right there on the border, really. So good morning, afternoon, or evening to you, wherever you might be in time and space. Hey, if I am not subscribed to you, please go into the chat room and say hi, drop an emoji, anything, make a mark. Because that makes it super easy for me to click the three dots that appear next to your name, go right to your channel, and I can hit subscribe. Other than that, I have to wait for YouTube to process you, and then I can find you, and then I can subscribe to your channel. So I would rather just be able to get right to it. So please, you need a follower. I am it. Grab my coffee and have a sip before we get going here. So Madam Graves had to make an emergency landing last month. Her plane's been thoroughly checked over and now needs to fly it back to her near Indianola. Who came up with that name? Careful, this client is very picky about her bird, as we all are. Make sure your landing is spot on. She might be on site when you arrive. So we're going from KBEK to 6. So this is what, still Nebraska? 6 NE7? Either way, we're getting closer to home. They say it's going to take 20. It says difficulty 2, and it says 2 hours, but we're only going 23 miles. So I don't know how they come up with 2 hours. I mean, I guess maybe knowing me and the things that go wrong, maybe it will take 2 hours. I don't think so. I want to apologize, even though there's no reason for me to apologize for the last episode. Number 207 was a passenger flight with a helicopter, and everything went well until the last 2 miles. Then the keyboard stopped responding, and I couldn't respond to air traffic control. So I'm scrambling to get the helicopter, flying straight and level while I'm trying to also jostle toggling air traffic control and use and do it manually with the mouse and respond to them. And then I respond to them and I try to come in for a landing, and now my joystick throttle is not working. And so out of the air we came, and then crashed down and crashed and crashed and crashed. And I thought, well, maybe it's the air, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe we're not on the right screen, because I use multiple monitors. No matter what I tried, I could not regain keyboard or throttle function. Now that happened the day before doing a helicopter mission. So I don't know if it's the helicopter missions themselves that are bugged, but it does so far only seem to happen on helicopter missions. Let me shake my fist virtually here. Asobo! All right. Madam Graves, client Jennifer Maxwell, she's the mechanic. Why does everybody look so strange in this game? Who made these avatars for this game? I would have said no. No. These are not acceptable. Everybody looks too scary. I don't know what it is about whoever's creating these people, but they all just look weird. Well, that is a cute little thing, and I understand why she's really protective of it. So we'll do our best to make sure we get it there and I land safely. But then they start us off on this. To get her aircraft, let's start us off on really crappy terrain. Yeah, that's showing appreciation to her. Should have launched her from the street.
Hey, Cap, Jennifer here.
Hi, Jennifer.
Stepping up for this ferry flight.
You betcha.
Today's lucky bird heading to Lee Field is this charming little Cap 10. The owner had to get her aircraft repaired over there. Now it's ready, so she needs someone to fly it back to her. Madam Graves, the owner, is expecting you at the destination on time. Have a safe trip.
Maybe we can talk her into buying us all lunch. So, Jennifer, it's not just going to be me. It's going to be all the folks watching the live stream that are going along with. I hope she doesn't mind. I think we can get everybody in here. What do you think? All two of you? Yeah, just sit right there. When you can sit there. When you can sit there. So we're just straight legging it. I wonder if she's really short. All right. No avionics per se. Do you have radio? All right. Ah, the ever elusive essence Fermi. It's a magical substance used to drive this particular type of plane. Usually purchased from Narnia. And so, yeah, rare. You got to be rich. No. Well, the keyboard's working.
Kilo traffic, Kin November Sierra Victor 8412 is taxiing to runway 26.
Come on, Madam Plane. Stuck on a dirt clod. Come on, some groundhog out there, give us a push. You. Lord almighty, now we're going too fast. So looking over my certifications today before starting, I'm getting real close to being able to do the aerial spraying. I need a couple more passenger flights, I think, or... Well, one of them was do a couple more bush landings. And another one was just a couple of passenger flights that are... Oh my god. Really? That's something I've been noticing a lot with 2024. The brakes are overpowered and everything wants to tip over. The DC is horrible. You even touch the brakes and you tip the thing over. You know, come on, Asobo. Really? Are planes that retarded? They're more accurate. No, this isn't more. Come on, it can't be more accurate. If so, then planes are retarded. You know, here, let's make it so you can't press your brakes going 2 knots while taxiing. Genius is not PC to say retarded anymore. It's retarded. What we said when we were growing up. It's retarded. Oh, we were supposed to do a U-turn. I'm sorry, I'm frustrated. So, that little thing like that. I know, breathe, relax, relax. I know. But it does, it frustrates me. All the problems that I've been having in the last few days with the simulator. I needed an extended vacation anyway, and then I had some health problems, yada, 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 yada. So I've been away for a couple of months. And which was fine. I'm like, okay, I'm in not a hurry, and let them try to work some of the bugs out and, give them a little time, which they shouldn't have needed at all. And when I get back to it, everything will be a little bit smoother. Nah, come on. Come on. Whoever's decision it was to make them release it in 2024, you're the worst. You're the absolute worst. You're the bane of everything in the development community. And if you're in marketing, even more so. You guys are just the worst. For somebody to get that passed, yeah, let's make it in 2024, but 2025 is more cool. We can't just do it because it's more cool. Yes, you can. That's a better marketing than anything else. 2025 just sounds much more cool than 2024. But then we would have to delay a month or two. Yeah, so can't delay it just to try to get some cool points. Yes, you can. That is why we're here. Being marketing department, advertising, whatever. You've got to have hooks, man. Whatever hooks you can use, you got to use them. And either way, just come on. Just delay it till 2025, and just let everybody have a little bit more breathing room. Think about it. How long has it been out now? And they still haven't even launched the marketplace. That should have been day one, at least week one. And I'm sorry to slam a Soba, but if you actually know me and have watched my streams before, you know I'm pretty much a fanboy. I will actually get accused more of, being a shill for them. I love everything that they did with 2020. They gave us a simulator that was greater than anything that most of us expected. And I've been, everything that they said they would do, they've done, and things that needed to get fixed got fixed for the most part. So I don't normally complain about anything. But when you've got a guy like me complaining, there may be some qualified people over there. And they are, but at the same time, damn, folks. Anyway, in other news, one of the Venom movies, I don't know how many there are. I thought one of them had Woody Harrelson, or was supposed to have Woody Harrelson in it, is like Carnage or something. I thought there was only 2 Venom movies out there. Anyway, I haven't seen so this Venom movie popped up on Netflix yesterday. And so I started watching it. I fell asleep about halfway through. Got to watch the ending. And then I had one of those dreams since I fell asleep watching it that I missed the ending, which I did. But in my mind, it was like something to be nervous about. And so in my dream, I kept rewinding it to try to catch the ending and kept falling asleep. And the dream kept looping on me. So I kept rewinding it and then falling asleep and rewinding it and falling asleep. So my mind kept, like, I think trying to fill in the blanks, like, explain to me how it ended. It was weird. I also had another weird thing happen this week. I don't recall that it's ever happened before. It was a complete and unique phenomenon that I experienced in my life. So I'm in the middle of one of these ferry flights or whatever. I'm just putzing along just like this. We're getting closer to land, you know. And all of a sudden, everything in the right-hand corner of my eye, in my vision, there's this circle of like swirling kaleidoscope colors. You know when the predator is cloaking and it's kind of got that shimmer to it? It's blurry, but there's colors in it. This was more vibrant color-wise, but it still had that kind of like that blurriness going on. And it was just hovering. Like, so if you're just looking at the screen now where the mini map is up there in the corner, everything in the corner of my eyesight up there, there was this circle of swirling color. And I thought, first I thought it maybe was a monitor glitch because it was so unusual. And no, it's not. It's moving with my eye, and I'm blinking and I'm blinking. I'm like, do I have something in my eyeball? I'm not feeling anything. So I tried blinking and closing my eyes for a minute or two. And then it wouldn't go away. And then I kind of got a little miffed. And I thought, well, maybe I'm seeing a floating predator alien thing. And I'm experiencing an entity of some kind that is actually there. And I know that is terribly stupid to think, but I was running out of things to troubleshoot and figure out what was going on with my vision. And so I said, okay, if you're a spirit, then I just need you to move out of the way. I'm trying to land this plane. You're messing me up here. And I started waving my hands to like shoo it aside. And it kind of did. And then it went away after another couple of minutes. And so last night I looked up on Google. I'm like, try to type into Google what the symptoms were, like seeing colored lights, colored blurry vision and eyesight, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you were having an eye migraine. And I'd never heard that term before. And like, you can get a migraine in your eyeball. Or it could be some horrible brain disorder. It's either like, well, it could be a migraine or you're having a brain malfunction. Well, okay, I'll take the eye migraine, but why did it move? Maybe I was seeing an entity. Maybe I was being visited by an entity. I don't know. It's never happened before. And it hasn't happened since. Yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. Hasn't happened. And what came and went. But yeah, it's way different than seeing like sometimes you squeeze your eyes closed together and you get the little stars going on. It was nothing like that whatsoever. Really like a circle. Very strange. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your life? I've never even seen a commercial for it. Hey, do you suddenly get circles appearing in your vision? You need to try Dr. Ted's eye circle drops. Never heard of it. Never seen a commercial for it. Never ever heard anybody say that they've ever experienced that. Even all the old people in the family. Never heard grandma once say, "Oh, I'm having these little kaleidoscopes in my vision." Never. What time is it? It's 50 minutes after the hour. I missed my smoke break earlier. So, I don't know if we can open the canopy. Know where you open the canopy. Well, are these little these look like little, I don't know what these are. I'm getting off track here. Way. That was quick. Well, I can't see any way to open the cockpit. Open the window. I don't make the cockpit smell like smoke. But I'm gonna have a smoke break, so. Yes, I know it's not real, but. I think it was X-Plane 11. You could toggle certain conditions on and off, emergency conditions or whatever, and you could simulate certain emergencies. And one of them is smoke filling your cabin. And I loved that because for my smoke break, usually after we landed or whenever, I could toggle that on and fill the cockpit with smoke. In other news, and it's not even news, and we go in music news. You ever have a song that just you haven't heard for a while or whatever, it just sticks in your head? I think that is something I've heard everybody talk about in my life. That's common. Oh, I can't get this song out of my head today. I particularly remember one conversation with a fellow student at the Kansas City Art Institute. We were driving to go pick up some donuts for the class that day. And he was having a song from, Be Our Guest, from Beauty and the Beast, Disney's animated Beauty and the Beast. So during that trip to go get the donuts, he's like, I got that song stuck in my head. Yeah. It's not so bad. I mean, you know. Mine right now is Another Tricky Day by The Who. That one is just walking around the house. It's rolling through my head. And so, I had to put it on and listen to it again. I haven't thought about that one in years. Just forgot how fantastic it was. Love the chorus. Love the harmonies. Pete Townsend, I like his, I've always enjoyed his voice. Pete Townsend's voice is fantastic. Bass Dances Part 2, one of my favorite Pete Townsend songs of all. So his backup vocals on Another Tricky Day are fantastic. And it seems like they're doing the double tracking. Is what's the term where you record your voice and then you record it again and again and again, and then you layer 3 tracks of your voice. Sometimes singers will do that. John Lennon did that, but I think he got it from like Buddy Holly, or it's where the singer will sing his own harmonies and then they layer them. So in that chorus, when Pete Townsend is singing, it sounds like there's like 3 of them. Or it's a reverb. I'm not a musician. I mean, who doesn't? I love music though. And so, you know, I like musicians. I watch drumming channels on YouTube for days. Recently, it's a gentleman out there doing bass covers. Fascinating. That's not my archetype. I wasn't cut from the music archetype. I've got a lot of strong like drawing, and everybody's like, "Well, you're a creative, so you know playing instruments should be easy for you." No, there's 2 different things entirely. And no, music doesn't come easy to me at all. I've tried playing instruments and nah. Has any particular song been in your head lately? And have you ever experienced one of those eye phenomenon? Do 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 phenomenon. Do 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 phenomenon. Do 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 do. Okay. I think I'm having too much fun. But what else can you do when you're just flying straight? No, please tell me the keyboard's not working again. Okay, that's working, but we're getting some texture flickering. So it's taking me out to my drone camera reluctantly, but it's now not responding to, and it could be just the plane. In the controls, but it's not giving me my just straight external cam. Sobo. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling awful red, white, and blue these days. And not, you know, I don't have to say any particular party, one or the other, just red, white, and blue, American. Parties aside. And I remember a terrifying day in history class. And the teacher says, to make it simple, let's just run it this way. Egypt lasted for 4,000 years before it collapsed. And Greece, or then some other empires, they lasted 2,000 years before they collapsed. And then Greece lasted 1,000 years before they collapsed. Rome made it 500 years before they collapsed. And this chapter of the history books is titled, open your book, titled The American Age. With a foreword by some big-headed professor. that predicted that the American age would last half as long as Rome. 250 years. Have you checked where we're at recently? I think we're going to have a jubilee for the 250. That'd be a great time for them to release the stimulus back into the economy. We're going to have a party, and we need to make sure everybody has enough money for the party because, it's a special thing. So that's what I would do if I was the president. Like, we're absolutely going to give some stimulus back to the people. We're going to get the inflation so low that we'll already have compensated that. So stop crying about that, please. We'll adjust things before the party happens, and then we'll give you cash so you can get, have a good time. Barbecues, everything. Fireworks. And not feel bad that you can't spend the money for it. Either way, 250. And we're awful close to that. And I sat there with feeling of dread as a teenager. Because I can't imagine, as they all did. I can't imagine collapsing. It seems an absurd. Come on. And now that I'm older and I've been conscious of that since high school, I look at everything through those lenses. That's it. What else is the greatest teacher other than history itself? So in recent years, the last decades or so, I'm interested when videos pop up on YouTube like the top 5 reasons all civilizations collapse. Series that are just on the ancient world and the causes of civilization collapse. All right, well, let me get back to the first one then. Just show me the episodes on ancient Sumer. Why did ancient Sumer collapse? That was fascinating. Things I did not know about ancient Sumer that the poets scribed onto clay tablets and such. The poets claim that ancient Sumer had highways and waterways.
November, Sierra Victor 84125 miles, southwest 5000. Ford inbound to land runway 26.
Start slowing down here. So the poets said that ancient Sumer had highways and highway waterways. And the other civilizations or the neighbors, whatever, the next city states, whatever's popping up around them, they weren't doing a good job. And they were collapsing themselves. And so the bleeding hearts in society demanded that the gates of Sumer be opened, and that these other people that have failed, that they have an opportunity to come into Sumer. They deserve it. People, we got to have humanity, right? We got to help humanity. And the leaders fought them and said, we can't do that. We're gonna collapse ourselves, and it's gonna be bad, And then a lot of these people, they've always been hostile to us. We can't. And the Bleeding Hearts won. And so they started opening the gates of Sumer up to any Tom, Dick, and Abdul that wanted to come in. And they collapsed. And then the poets, this was what was interesting. Then the poets mocking them. Oh, where are your great highways now, Sumer? They're all in ruin because now you can't afford to upkeep your highways. Where are your great waterways now, Sumer? They're all overgrown and traffic on the waterways is ground to a halt. And you collapsed everything. So then start working your way through other programs. Okay, just take the top. Just go Egypt, Greece, Rome. And what happened with those? Nero's, Caligula's.
6 November, Echo, 7 traffic, Kin, November Sierra, Victor 8412 is on final runway, 26 to land.
People that create their own churches. I mean, you know. And there's a common thread. Now, I hate like picking on people. We all are, and we all serve a purpose. We all have our archetypes. And in the collective, the human experience, we all serve a purpose. When things become unbalanced and one particular archetype or particular archetypes whose primary function is arts, culture, education, I want to tip the thing over. It'd be really touchy on the brakes. When one archetype gains too much power and they disregard the warrior class. And they disregard the law archetypes. There are some people that aren't creative in any way. They're in their DNA, in their makeup, in their psychological makeup. Archetypes are not infinite either. There's only a set number of human archetypes, meaning there's only so many types of human psychology in the entire history of mankind. Some things about our condition, our psychological condition, has never changed. It's hardwired. And again, it's not an infinite combination. It's a small number of personality traits that you can attribute to any human being. Some people aren't born with the creative archetype. They're only born with, let's say, law and order, justice. Authoritarianism, I mean, you got to take all of it.
Welcome to Indianola. I'm Madam Gray.
Somebody would say, you are fascism. Look, we all archetypes serve a purpose, so they wouldn't be there. They're hardwired in. from the creator. Therefore, you can't claim one of the others is a total enemy. I can't turn around and claim that, look, you liberal types are the main reason why governments and empires and nations collapse. When your archetype gains too much power, you fail to recognize it, and you continuously and repeatedly throughout history cause collapse. You claim yourselves to be the smart ones, but you won't have a discussion on the reason why empires collapse, and you will not acknowledge where we're at in the timeline. You won't sit down and shut the up. Love ya, but sit down and shut the up. Sorry, I'm ranting. That day in class, I thought, it's absurd. We're never going to collapse. Our education system's too good. If I'm sitting here in the middle of the United States in a history class, 101, not even 101, I'm in high school, not even college level. If this is being taught to every high schooler across the United States, my age, I mean, that's a big deal. For that piece of knowledge to travel throughout all of us, travel between all of us, we should all know that. That's the only thing we need to really know about history. Like, history's boring. I don't want to learn history. You only have to learn one thing. My God. Stop being stupid. I don't have that archetype. Okay, you're excused. But you're going to cause problems. So I thought for sure, us all being educated the same, that we would absolutely, positively defy history. Because we're cool like that. That's why this whole section of the history book is called the American Age. And I'm not trying to put any other country down. Look, we've earned it. Without a doubt, we have done more to advance humankind in the last 200 years than everybody else on this earth in the last 2,000 years. So, not taking away anything from you, but don't take anything away from us and our achievements. That's significant. And with the way things are going, I still kind of feel like, yeah, I think enough of us did learn that. I want to be really red, white, and blue. I want to be hopeful about it. And I think enough of the other archetype actually did pay attention. Because how can you get these kind of numbers if not? I mean, so it's great to acknowledge when any one of us has out of balance things. So I do like all the pushback on, hey, look, this might be too authoritarian. I acknowledge that. Yeah. Got dinged because of that. Sobo! Right. So I look at everything but right now is a particular time where the liberals again have had control for so long that they have manipulated everything to their advantage. So it's very difficult right now to impose a kind of law and order to balance it back out before we collapse. So I've still got my fingers crossed. We haven't quite hit that point, but if you are watching things happening just for that, just to see where things are going on that, you can see the archetypes at play and fighting here. They're really fighting. So all you can do is now refer back to Sumer. Where are we going to be at the end of this? Are you going to, are the poets of tomorrow, are they going to be going, where are your highways now, America? Where are your waterways, your transportation, your world transportation now? Where's your Wi-Fi now? Hopefully it'll be like, oh, they did it. They did it. And then we get another chapter in the history book. The American Age Part 2. That'd be great. The American Age Part 2. Where in the introduction of that chapter of the history book, the forward by all of the historians that are left alive that predicted we would collapse at a certain period in time. And those historians, and maybe even some of the new ones, acknowledging that America defied history. And I hope we do it with flying colors. Making our way back to Colorado. Go west, my boy. Come on, what's with all you people being greedy, moving traffic that way? Oxy? Well, we're advancing. It's not far, and we're here. So far, that's the only way I'm going to find going that way. Now we'll take an inch. A bit closer to home. KPHG to 1F5. Mr. Lowry. Mr. Lowry. Did anybody see the movie Brazil? 1980... 86? I want to say 1980, 1986, 1987. A Terry Gilliam film, one of the Monty Python Flying Circus crew. He was the animator, the American on the team, and he made a mind-bogglingly fantastic movie called Brazil. And that's why I'm emphasizing Mr. Lowry. Left us his plane following an emergency landing. After a detailed check, we agreed to get it back to him in Kenneth. Careful. This client is also very picky about his bird. Make sure you're landing a spot on. I wonder if that's just going to be the same text for everyone. I have really not paid that much attention. Probably is. Well, that is gorgeous. You're watching this on YouTube and you're on maybe on a big screen or anything, and you're thinking the picture doesn't look that great. Make sure to check the settings tab at the bottom of your YouTube window and make sure that it is displaying it as high as you would want it to be. I have noticed for some, even myself, like rewatching this the stream, it'll default to maybe like 720p. And I have to raise it back up to something higher. So it should be pumping a full 4K. Now, it's not a processed 4K. I mean, it's a streaming 4K. Once it goes through the YouTube processing, then it, you know, be fully recorded and coded, whatever, as a 4K, but pretty darn good. Roll off, make sure that's right. This is gorgeous.
Hello, it's John Winslow.
I know I've flown one of these before, but
I'm your contact here. Glad it's you today, because getting this DA-62 over to Hoxie Sheridan County is a big deal for us. The owner had to get his aircraft repaired over there. Now that it's fixed, he needs someone to fly it back to him. He is already waiting for it. His name's Mr. Jordan Lowry.
Mr. Lowry?
Pilot.
Why, thank you. I have not reloaded Bushtalk Radio. Bushtalk. Make sure I'm logged in. One moment. So this will ensure that we get any audio tours that we pass, any points of interest that we pass that have an audio tour, it'll kick in. Really? All right, I'm signed in. Now, those point of interest, I hope they work this out, that they can get the point of interest to show up in the EFB. They do not. You have to use their web browser to see the points. But to ensure that is working right, which I did not know, I thought it was not working right, but this is the way they've set it up. So it's in your EFB. It doesn't appear up here in pre-flight mode. Sometimes it does. But in career, it's in here in your EFB. And this is where you can have it auto sign into your account, stats, discovery log, nav finder, Wikipedia, or nav finder. I haven't tried some of these. That's cool. We go back. Clicking the home button's not working. It'll come now. You click here. Oh, just turn it off. It just killed the pad. What? Yeah, it did. I can't figure out how to make it turn back on. Asobo! Shake fist, shake fist, shake fist. You don't have to stick around for this one. I don't want you to feel obligated to. Oh. Oh. Really? You can't take it out from that side? I do recall this aircraft from Flight Sim World as well. And Flight School. Those were made by Dovetail Games. They're no longer available. And I don't know why. They were marvelous achievements and anybody should be allowed to have them, but Microsoft didn't want that. And I understand they wanted to do this. And so they had licensed Microsoft Flight Simulator X to create the Steam version. And then they got licensed to create Flight Sim World and Flight School. And then Microsoft pulled the plug. And because Microsoft had licensed...
Hello, it's John Winslow. Thanks for accepting the job. I'm your contact here. Glad it's you today, because getting this DA-62 over to Hoxie Sheridan County is a big deal for us. The owner had to get his aircraft repaired over there. Now that it's fixed, he needs someone to fly it back to him. He is already waiting for it. His name's Mr. Jordan Lowry.
Look at that. The EFB isn't coming back on. It says tab. No, it just toggles it on and off. Sobo! Well, looking at our flight path in the Bushtalk Radio app, I only see possibly 3 points of interest that would be along our route. So what I'm seeing is Castle Rock, a large limestone pillar landmark in Grove County, Kansas. I know we've flown that one before. There's also the next one. Monument Rocks are a series of large chalk formations in Grove County, Kansas. We've definitely done that one. And then we're at the El Cuartelejo ruins. And we have not done that one. I don't know if we're going to get to that one, but it's on, it's in that, on that vector, on that radial. So let me play that one for you.
El Cuarteljo, or El Carteljo, is the name given to the archaeological remains of the northernmost Native American pueblo and the only known pueblo in Kansas. Located in Lake Scott State Park, the remains of the stone and adobe pueblo are situated north of Scott City, Kansas, on Ladder Creek. The origin of El Cuarteljo has 2 likely possibilities. In 1664, a group of Puebloans left New Mexico and were later rounded up and brought back by the Spanish. They may have constructed El Cuarteljo. Alternatively, after the collapse of the Pueblo Revolt, the Spanish reconquered New Mexican pueblos, and one group of Taos and Pacurus people fled the area in 1696. They searched for a new home among the Plains Apache on the Great Plains.
It seems to have knocked out try that one. Maybe not. Okay, that was the problem on that anyway. Still can't figure out the EFB thing, but oh well.
Kilo Papa Hotel Golf Traffic Kin, Kilo X-Ray Sierra 8412 is taxiing to runway tree 1.
All right, so I'm gonna keep this live stream going longer than an hour. Yeah, this doesn't want to go away. Okay, toggle it that way. But then you can't remove this thing? The suction cup thing? That's goofy. Where was I? Oh yeah, so in Flight Sim World, oh, so Microsoft pulled the plug. Microsoft made Dovetail yank both Flight Sim World and Flight School off the market entirely. You can't purchase them anymore. They're dead. If you own them and you purchase them on Steam, how do they want us to go out? This way? That way. If you purchase them on Steam and you have them in your library, you are still able to use them. And I have both of those titles available to me. And when I say that it was a masterpiece, it was a masterpiece. It wasn't as... You know, there were things in it that you can understand why Asobo, whatever, got the contract or was able to get the contract away from them and have them pull their product from the market. There are things about the Asobo development that were far superior. But in its own right, it was a masterpiece. It had the whole world and the missions were great. It definitely had a more game feel to it, but visually beautiful. Modeling, beautiful. So if you into my files on my channel and dig around, you'll find like my training lessons from Flight Sim World and Flight School and things that I've mucked about with there. Or I'm sure you just search YouTube in general for the Dovetail games, Flight Sim World, and Flight School. Their training missions were far out, and this is one of the planes you use for learning your multi-engine rating, getting your multi-engine rating, and you practice engine failure on takeoff, engine failure on landing, engine failure in flight, and how to respond to it. Good stuff. Okay. Thought we were taking off. We're not there yet. We got to turn around. It says I screwed that up on the helicopter one. So before coming in, while I was setting this episode up, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, on the front page of YouTube, for me anyway, are, you know, live congressional stuff, you know, the Doge stuff and other things that are going on live. And again, I'm watching the archetypes at play. And listening to what the archetypes at play are saying, and you know, and then they get these heated statements that come out, and it's apparent that they can't. They are made up. Their archetypes are so strong, heavily to one side, like when you go left or right. In this case, the left. Again, it's not an enemy thing. It's not a bad guy thing. It's an archetype thing. You don't have any strong archetypal makeup that is law, authority. It's too much of arts, creative, humanity, culture. And they can't see reality from other archetypes' point of view. And then they lash out. You're an idiot, or you're stupid, or you're an authoritarian, you're a racist, you're a... Well, archetypes on the other side are, whoa. I got my fingers crossed. Good luck, America. But I think right at the moment, because of the balancing thing, we need a lot more people on the left. People that are more, the creative ones that are really rallying. We need to really try to appeal to the ones that also have that lawful, you're not just one archetype. You can be a mixture of multiple different types of archetypes. Usually one is primary. One psychological archetype dominates the personality trait. All the personality traits. But then you might have a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this. You're like a Heinz 57 of archetypes. So we need to appeal more to those that didn't sleep through history class, to look at things through the historical lens of empire duration and collapse. And there are a few out there. There's actually people out there that are like, man, we got to calm down. Our archetypes are screwing everything up. You need to just sit down and listen to what the American people are saying right now. This is the reason why you're failing. They've got a point. Stop calling them the enemy. Everything's cyclic. We'll have there's going to be a big party coming up in a few years. And if we get past all this without collapsing, there'll be plenty to party about in the future. Where your archetypes are going to matter more, when things are chilled out a little bit. So the obstructionism that I'm seeing going on is just horrible. They're fighting tooth and nail to obstruct everything. Like, you're gonna collapse us. And the poets on YouTube are gonna be making fun of us. You can't go wrong if you're, well, what if we're wrong about that? History's not wrong. And how all of human history, every bit of human history is wrong. Just, they didn't do it the way that's true to some degree. It's like the argument for socialism. Well, nobody's done it right yet. Is that so? We can do it, right? Maybe. Let's get past these first hurdles. Let's get past this big one first, the 250 mark. Okay, you get us past the 250 mark. Hey, man. Have at it. If we can all get through that, okay, you've earned we've earned it. Now we can kick, certain archetypes can kick back and let the other creative ones work their magic for a while. Get everything moving again. Groovy again. I would love for us all to be groovy again. Certain people today have no reference. They didn't come from groovier times. They have no point of view. They can't even comprehend a reality where people are groovy. And that's sad. The last, a couple of generation of kids, people born in the 90s. Everybody born in the 90s. Maybe their earliest experiences with life are kind of groovy. Just enough to where they can remember $1 for gas and that being kind of outrageous. $1.30, unheard of. That's crazy. $1.30 for gas, that's robbery. But chances are, just being born in the 90s, that they're still just a little too young for that. Understand where we were. Anyway, my point being, they don't understand how awesome the 80s was, the 80s economy, and people would cry about how bad the 80s economy was. In the 70s? They're like, yeah, the 70s were good. The 70s economy was amazing. And people still cried at that time that things were too expensive. What? And then we get past the point where many of us aren't around anymore to say the 60s were amazing. I can do 70s and 80s, and I have that point of view. Anyway, I'm sad for all these people born after the 90s that there hasn't been a really groovy period that they can understand just how badly we need to reverse course on a lot of things, and we need to get groovy again. They just don't understand what that even means. Thank goodness for the YouTube though, and Netflix and movies, and here, go. Usually a culture shock for them though. Here, go put on Saturday Night Fever. Look at the way we used to be. Then they watch something like that and they're like, that's another planet. That can't be reality. You couldn't know. Yeah. Even now I'll watch something like that and I'm like, that seems like a fantasy world. Just come on. Really? People would dress like that? That's nuts. So, those are my hopes going forward, is that enough of the smart left archetypes really get through to the rest of their archetypes that have debalanced things, and really, academically tackle it. There's no shame in it. You're not an enemy for being that way. You serve a great purpose in the whole history of mankind. Your archetypes, without you, we wouldn't be here. It takes us all. But Get them to stop obstructing. Tell them to just sit down for a bit and help. Stop making yourself the villain in the story, the repeating story. It is easy to, when they're the common cause throughout history and the common cause of it repeating, to sometimes not look at them as the enemy, you know, when they fail to get it over and over and over again. It's easy to say, you know, if in 2025 you were the enemy, you were doing everything they said you would do, and they've got all of history to back it up. So, do you want to be the heroes in this story of defying history? Or do you want to wear the same clothes and do the same things? Because ultimately, you are the same people. Since ancient Sumer. All right. 46 minutes after the hour, you're watching the continuing adventures of Kineas the Skydude, episode number 208, wherein Kineas is trying to, through the career mode, to make his way back to Colorado. We've gone south, and we've gone west, and we've gone east, and now we kind of want to get back home because the weather's lovely here, and I would love to see the seasons change. Love to see a season change at home. Can we open the window on this thing anywhere? Must be on the ground. That's too bad. Again, I want to do a smoke break. I want to open a window, crack a window. Even when I'm flying airliners, it's a smoking flight. Old school that way. I'm old enough to remember when flying on a plane was super classy. Well, I wouldn't say super classy. It had already gone past super. Super was when, like, you know, they had seats that were the size of couches and full-on buffet, gourmet meals, and but it was still pretty classy when I was a kid. You still get a meal and potentially a movie and, you know, deck of cards. As a kid, you got your wings. I had I wish I had all of my wings from childhood. Where you lose stuff along the way, I don't know. Wasn't good at keeping track of my stuff. But I had lots of wings. I did lots of flying as a kid. I would love to see aviation return to that a little bit. You know, one, the seats do bother me. We've all gotten bigger, and that's just the way the universe expands in general. Everything comes from something small and gets bigger, and everything seems to just get bigger in general. Everything goes from small to large in the universe. Anyway, we're all bigger, and that's good. We're healthier, whatever the reason. But now it's like, you know, cram as many people as you can in. You know what? Come on, if you own an airline, just ditch that mentality. Yank out a few rows of seats. Make bigger seats, make things classy and a little bit fine again. There's a reason why they call it the air bus, because it's just like a bus. You're just crammed in there like sardines. And now they're talking about that offset seating where one level is a little bit higher than the last one. It's like you're farting in people's faces. That is the most ridiculous seating design I've ever seen in my life. One group of seats is slightly elevated per row. Literally, if you're on one of the lower ones, your face is directly behind somebody's ass. And it's offset. You got a higher row. Why? That doesn't make any sense layout wise. There's no, I don't understand it. You're not gaining anything. They're like, well, you can extend your legs. Ah, I see. So it's for the leg room. Just yank a few rows. I would rather not have leg room than have somebody farting in my face. And just over time, the accumulation of ass smell on an airline seat. Ah, somebody had curry. Yeah, curried ass. Wah. Yank out some rows. Give people wider seats. Get groovy again. My goodness. I wouldn't ever want to impose a dress code, but when you look at the way we used to dress in like 20s and 30s, 40s, even the 50s, up into the 60s, businessmen still were snazzy. But as a whole, society, I would say, like, I want to say peaked around the 30s. Everybody was dressed to the nines, man. So I was going to say, I don't impose a dress if you're traveling. But it would be nice to see everybody dressed up again or traveling. Find our grooviness back. Oh, I saw an elderly black gentleman on Twitter today in a photograph, dressed to the nines, and a cigar, and man, the epitome of class. Modern attire and high-end couture. reminiscent of a well-dressed person from the 30s. Yeah. Heck yeah. I only wish that I had the funds to be that classy. And I think that's, again, goes back to a lot of the reasons why that we are the way we are, going back to the whole big picture of our current economy. One thing that I have another problem with historically is them talking about throughout history when society, empires, societies, whatever, governments, when inflation, when the inflation, how do I put it? That inflation does not go backwards. Were you raised and taught that? Inflation never goes backwards. It always increases until there's a collapse. Now, that can't be, can it? In which case, there is no defying history. Because that's where we're getting to. We're getting to that point where economic archetypes are all writing stories about it's not sustainable anymore. We're reaching that point where economically it's we're going to if we don't collapse from an imbalance in the archetypes, that the way the monetary systems are set up and the way corruption blah 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 works, we can't recover, and we've got to try to defy that. If that is, I hear people telling me that all the time. It doesn't go back. It always busts. Well, then we have another impossible in a moment to defy history. Because that's crap, man. For people to be groovy and classy, we have to now get back to an 80s economy. And when you tell people that, they're like, that's impossible. Why? I'm not buying it. That's not the way things really are. There are solutions. There is a solution. We just haven't, if that is the case, we just haven't done it right yet. Well, that's the problem we need to figure out. Which ties back into currently what's going on in the government as it reflects upon where it's at and what we're headed for. What it's trying to do. And I'm sure it does to a lot of people that I see out there rallying against what's going on. They're like, cutting this, cutting that, and cutting this, and cutting that. It's like, yeah, but see point one about history. What are you going to do? You're going to let it collapse? There comes a point when people say it's unsustainable, then you have to do drastic you have to make drastic change. You have to make drastic decisions, which is never going to make anybody look good to the other side. It's extremist. That's racist. So we have to do the impossible again. We have to now not only get rid of the debt and get inflation reduced to almost nothing, and then try to get it back to at least a 90s economy. It would be better if we could shoot for 70s and 80s, which seems, again, it seems impossible. But that's what we do. We do impossible. It's one of our achievements. We're capable of it. So we better try to get some impossible going on right quick. So sometimes you have to tell your friends, look, we have no choice. We've played it loose and cool and groovy and funky to the point where we better wake up and get the house in order and clean up and get things going good again so we can continue to party. But right now, you just bring in the party to, and we have no choice. We have to bring the party to a complete and total stop and do dramatic things before we can get back to that. Everybody seems to think that that what's going on in government, that it will never come again, but you'll never get to spend a whole bunch of people's money again on, some things are going to be groovy and cool, but for the most part, then it starts getting out of control. Like now, here you have money for this and money for that, money for this. Woo! Okay, Nero. To Brutus. If you've never studied Dante, if you've read Dante, cool. I mean, but if you took the time to read the introduction to the Divine Comedy, don't just skip all that. It's really, how do I say it? Reinforce it. It really puts a fine point on it, as you're not reading a work of fiction so much. You have to understand where he came from, what happened in his life. That was a fantastic moment in the life of a person. I'm glad I did it. One of those, put it on your bucket list. Reading the Divine Comedy. And the introduction and forewords or whatever, book you get. Don't skip any of that. And how that ties into everything I've been talking about. We have to acknowledge our psychological makeups. We have to acknowledge, we have to. Everybody trust the science. Okay. Well, we have some pretty solid science on us. I mean, stuff that actually anybody can seemingly prove just by living and dealing with other people. You can apply what you learn on the psychology and archetypes, and there being a limited number of personality traits. And there are no more. There's only 10 male archetypes and 7. So to keep it a little bit more down to earth, 10 male personality types and 7 female personality types. Now, some of them are similar across types. I mean, like the creative types in the male pantheon psychology, and the creatives in the female psychology. The lawful in the male psychology, the lawful in the female psychology. The warrior in the male archetype, the warrior in the female archetype. The comedian. Hello, I'm still flying.
All right, I'll call that lunch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Do. 10.6 miles. This has been a lovely ride. Didn't even use autopilot. I'm not a real world pilot, I'm a sim pilot. And I take it seriously, and I over the years have tried to learn as much as I can about real world flying and the things required to go get your licenses and what is required of you to know when to pass the tests. And putting that all into practice over the last few years, in the NOOB flight series, and now in the continuing in the Skydude series. And so where I'm going with this story is going to visit a friend and play games at a friend's house. PC games. They have LAN. And they used to own one of those cyber cafes. And that's how they ended up having a bunch of computers in their houses, a house that were networked for gaming. And they wanted to play I think it's called Sturmovik. It's a flying combat game. And I was doing really, really well. And this friend of mine came over and wanted us to talk. He was like, man, you're really, really good at this. And he had never heard of trim. Right. So one of the reasons, one way I was able to beat them or win on one particular thing was it was kind of, the dogfighting and being able to conserve your fuel. And I think that's what it was. I'm remembering it as I go. I think that people were having a fuel problem. They would dogfight and then they wouldn't have enough fuel or whatever. But I would trim the plane out right after takeoff and try to keep my mixture or whatever I was doing to make sure that everything was balanced and I was running good. And that alone amazed my buddy because he didn't know anything about it. And he was struggling with things like that. So learning some stuff about flying came in handy that day. I remember I'm so glad that I can fly somewhat now, and I'm much, much better at it. I can remember when Microsoft Combat, the Pacific Combat Simulator, was available. And you could also do multiplayer at that time online and fly with other people. And so, yeah, so I wanted to jump in, and I knew something, but back then not nearly enough. And they would do formation flying around these Pacific islands and, you know, do maneuvers at the same time, like split S down to the shoreline, and then hard coordinated turns. And I was just so embarrassed at my level of skill against other people online. Everybody would do their dive or split S or whatever they were doing down to the shoreline, and then they're, you know, do a hard turn to starboard. And I put it into the sand every single time. I just didn't know enough about controlling an aircraft to pull off maneuvers like that. And I was just so amazed at their skill. Still am. I tried the heck is that digital combat simulator? And I was doing that and learning dogfighting, and it was awesome. I really like to get back to it. I've been kind of waiting and hoping that they'll eventually come out with a brand new one. Better interface and yada yada yada, but I don't know. And Microsoft is in no hurry to, and is incredibly reluctant to consider adding combat into Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I don't understand. On an archetypal level, I understand. On a business level, I do not understand. And I don't, on a business level, I don't feel it's appropriate to deny the combat series to come back and it to be a part of Microsoft Flight Simulator series again. I was so disappointed when Maverick came out and there was nothing there. Not even the mission from the movie. But that's neither here nor there. You know, the combat, any combat to it. No weapons. That's what I meant with the Maverick one. You know, you didn't even get the option to use try to use lasing missiles onto the Death Star point.
One Foxtrot 5 traffic in Kilo X-Ray Sierra 84121 miles, East 3100. Ford inbound to land runway tree 5.
They're probably going to ding me heavily for not following the boxes. Been a real pleasure having you along on this flight this afternoon. 11. I got a really early start today, so once I conclude this flight, I'll take everybody out to lunch, or we'll ask this customer here to treat us all to lunch, or another lunch, or a break, or drinks, or whatever, and then I will start another live stream, and if Henning shows up, we might do multiplayer, or be open to it. If he is not around and nobody else wants to do any multiplayer, then I will figure out something to do. There's so many things that I haven't done yet. I haven't done a lot of the photography stuff. I haven't done a lot of the activity stuff.
One Foxtrot, 5 traffic in Kilo X-ray Sierra 8412 is on final runway tree 5 to land.
Sorry. Awful. Should have followed the boxes. The hell's the runway? I think if there's anything wrong, is the view is really confined. I entirely missed it. Wow, bouncy. Come on, come down. Yes. Welcome to wherever we are. We are one step closer to Colorado. They move it on us? They did. Oh, they really changed their mind. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope it wasn't too much. I don't want to rattle anybody's cage. I don't want to feel anybody as the enemy in this life. You know, it wouldn't work without any one of us, really. It's just learning how to play together. Make that beautiful music. Yay, caravan.
I know your flight was challenging. I'm glad it was you. I would have had a rough time. Thanks for taking care of my DA-62 for me.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Mr. Lowry. Hey. Get back. I'll take it. It was because of you. All right. So like I said, I'll take a small break here. What time is it? It is a little past the smoke break at the 20-minute mark. So I'll try to be back at the top of the hour to continue these adventures. And again, we'll play the next one by ear, see if anybody shows up. And Henny, if you're out there and you want to do any flying, I better open up Discord. So I'll see you at the top of the hour or around then, right around then.